yes. And in this country, one of the easiest thing to get away with is murder. It has happened and around political figures. This murder of Jirongo is smelling like Oukos, to some extent like J.M. Kariuki's.
I'm wondering, how would history judge Cyrus Jirongo?
So for me, I'll look at him as someone who was very encouraging in terms of supporting youth ambitions, unlike so many other leaders from Western.
He was a man of many faces. The face in the politics, the face in business, and the face in the social life. I'm told that he had this unique ability to spot a good woman from a distance.
If we are to build this using the public resources, why should we again charge people on toll and again through taxes?
We are not building using public resources.
Okay.
It is a private-public partnership whereby, just like we did with the expressway, that we construct this road, and instead of paying any cent to those people, the kind of money that will be collected will be repaying back the money they'll have used to construct the road.
So there's no public resources.
So there's no public resources. Actually,
when you say that the taxpayers' money will not be used, I start wondering, because we have committed that NSSF money will finance 45% of the project. I wonder how NSSF gets money if it is not taxpayers' money.
I don't know at what point Joachim decided that I just believe in the best interest of the country. And I think so far, if you look at President Ruto, he's the best that we have right now of all the categories of leaders that are presenting themselves in terms of wanting to be leaders of this country. We've not seen anyone who has come up, at least where I agree with him, there's no one who has so far come up with a tangible roadmap towards the progress of the country better than President William Ruto. No.
Good evening. My name is Eugene Kwach, and this is the Power Table. Kenya is at a crucial moment. Big economic reforms, expensive infrastructure projects, heated by elections, and shifting political alliances are redefining the country's political landscape. Well, the government says it is fixing the economy. The opposition says Kenyans are paying the price. But who is telling the truth? And who has a real plan for the people? Tonight we cut through the politics, question power, and examine what these decisions mean for ordinary Kenyans and for the road next to the next general elections. Well, let's get into it. And of course, I do not do this alone. I host two gentlemen, Fwamba NC Fwamba, a politics and governance analyst, as well as Joachim Simiyu, who is the Secretary General of Safina Party, Safina Pesa. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you can get to interact with us through our online pages. But of course, on this moment, let me begin with Fwamba.
Yes.
Fwamba, you have a quite a unique name.
Yes.
Fwamba NC Fwamba.
Yes.
Did you borrow from Miguna?
No. By the way, maybe we share some kind of background because both of us were in some leadership at some point, by different times.
Yeah.
But on my case, by the time I was deciding that it becomes my name, I had no idea about the existence of Miguna at that time, because it was contextual. When I joined the University of Nairobi in the year 2000, my registration name was Fwamba NC, okay? And then when it got into politics, because we fought for the revival of Sono, at that time, the group of Ole Sankok, who was the chairman, and Irungo Kangata, who was the vice chairman, had been suspended from the university. So we revived the Sono. After reviving, we became the politicians now to get elected. Now, while campaigning, because my name somehow sounded so much like the vice chancellor's name at that time, I decided to modify it to be so friendly and away from Professor Kiamba's name, because Professor Kiamba was our vice chancellor at that time. So I became Fwamba NC Fwamba through the advice of my classmate then called Alfred Odhiambo. He was my classmate in the Faculty of Architecture, Design and Development at that time. I was doing design at the university.
Yes, quite much interesting. I think it's also very important for Mheshimiwa Joachim Simiyu also to tell us a bit about Safina. You know, when they talk about Safina Pesa, do you guys give people money? Why do you call it Safina Pesa as a SecGen?
Thank you very much for having me here.
Yes.
And quite a number of people have asked that question
Yes.
of why do we say Safina Pesa? It's not Safina Pesa. It is Safina Pesa. But the word Pesa is an acronym for a larger statement. PESA is P-E-S-A, Party of Economic and Social Adjustment. So it's not PESA as in it's not PESA as in literal money. It's a dream to the Kenyan people, because as we speak, most of the problems of the Kenyan people revolves around money. So
Well,
it is a dream.
thank you so much. Let's begin this conversation. And as we begin this conversation, permit me to ask you a very critical question. And this is on the death of Cyrus Jirongo. Cyrus Jirongo, of course, as you all get to know, is now the late. But of course, he was quite a controversial yet influential figure in Kenya's political and even business landscape. I'm wondering, how would history judge Cyrus Jirongo?
For me, Eugene, I think as far as Honorable Cyrus Jirongo is concerned, I can only give the account of my own interaction with him, because the rest of the public know his profile. The public profile that he has is his background as a YK92 leader, being minister. But for me, I will address the kind of person Honorable Jirongo was based on my own interaction. It first happened the year 2020. He wanted to be the vice chairman of KANU. That was my first meeting with him, although he eventually gave in and supported Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. Then sometime in 2014, I wanted to become Member of Parliament for Mathare constituency, and I approached different leaders. You know, there's an agenda that has been so much elusive. They usually call it Luya unity. And we thought we could make it like an experiment, that if we put our numbers together, because it's unfortunate that Kenyan politics somehow amalgamates itself around ethnic groupings. Like here in Nairobi, you cannot wish that away. So I approached various Luya leaders to hold my hand as I was running for that seat. I went to various leaders. I don't know if I should mention their names, but of all these leaders that I talked to, it is Honorable Cyrus Jirongo who really encouraged me to run for that seat. In fact, he did some mathematics and said, you need 20 million shillings for this campaign. And then he said that we need to embark on it. And he got me a ticket. I had gone to seek the federal part of Kenya, which had been a part at some point.
Yeah.
So he said the federal part of Kenya has very controversial individuals who might shortchange you in the long run. So he proposed that I get a party called Maendeleo Democratic Party, which was headed by the late Hamiso Mukanda, who had contested in Navaholo. Then the same Jirongo said that he'll contact me, he'll put me in touch with Martin Andati and Kenny Butiko. Yes. Kenny Butiko had just contested for the Vihiga gubernatorial position and lost by a margin of 1,000 votes. Then there's another guy called Chris Mugwanga. So putting together all these people, myself, my home of origin is Bungoma.
Yes.
Then you look at Butiko came from Vihiga, and Andati came from Kakamega, and Mugwanga came from Busia. That was an arrangement that he used to help me get to the ground to campaign. So for me, I'll look at him as someone who was very encouraging in terms of supporting youth ambitions, unlike so many other leaders from Western. Apart from that, he put on together so many initiatives of advancing Luya unity at the national level. And again, those ones who have seen his business side see him as someone who is very aggressive and someone with a very sharp mind. Remember, he's someone who schooled at Mangu High School. And those days, anyone who went to the national school, there was no backdoor. It means he was one of the brilliant, most brilliant people of his time. So it's unfortunate that we have lost him under very controversial circumstances, because the information that is coming out is not very clear on what exactly led to his death and therefore, or to that accident. And therefore, we encourage the authorities concerned, the police, the DCI, to ensure that they give us they give us the results of the whole investigation
Yeah.
so that all of us put this matter to rest.
Yes. Joachim.
Thank you. Personally, I introduced myself to the political sphere of this country just the other day, so I didn't have the privilege of meeting CJ. But based on what I hear about him, he was a man of many faces. And the face in the politics, the face in business, and the face in the social life. I'm told that he had this unique ability to spot a good woman from a distance. That's all I can say about him. What I can delve into for so long, so deeply, is how he has died. He has died in a manner that cannot be explained, because what we are being told is not adding up. So this gentleman rammed into a bus that was leaving Nairobi to Western at 3 a.m. in Naivasha. I have used Climax for a very long time. The latest bus that leaves Nairobi to Western leaves at 10. So for a bus to be found in Naivasha at 3 a.m. going to Western, that is contestable. Not unless something very unique happened on that day. Therefore, I think to establish the truth, we need to visit where the bus left from. If it's country bus or even Mudhurwa, we need to go there and do some interrogation for us to establish the truth as to how this gentleman lost his life. And the other contestable fact is that the bus had 65 passengers. And none of the passengers has come forward to volunteer their own version of how the things, the accident unfolded. And so many other questions. This is a Mercedes-Benz. On impact after accident, we expect that some airbags should be deployed. None of them did. So it raises a lot of questions. And you know, in this country, one of the easiest thing to get away with is murder. It has happened and around political figures. This murder of Jirongo is smelling like Oukos, to some extent like JM Kariuki's.
Yeah, okay, quite interesting. Well, I want us to begin this conversation, Mr. And as we begin this conversation on the power table, there's some issues that are quite controversial, and one of them is the privatization agenda by the government, the sale of Safaricom. And the government has actually been so aggressive in the push towards the privatization because they argue that it will then improve even actually efficiency and reduce public debt burden. But this agenda, it's been quite controversial. Some people claiming otherwise, thinking that why is the government actually selling public assets and so on and so forth. I don't know whether this is an economic a necessity from the end. How do you view this?
I think, Eugene, we need to be very practical.
Yes.
Like you've seen in 2024, Kenyans protested against high taxes. And therefore, it was like a wake-up call for the government to think differently, to diversify the thinking. That instead of using the traditional method of taxing and taxing people in the name of trying to pursue national agenda, developmental agenda, we need to be a bit more creative. And sometimes the solution is always within than from without. If you look at the main mandate of the government is not to do business. The main mandate of the government is to create a conducive environment for business to thrive, to govern. And the opportunity that we have through our parastatals is great. Even before we get to Safaricom, you've seen the privatization of sugar factories, where some people have talked about them having been sold. But we realize that the farmers are happy. You know, the farmers are the main stakeholders in the sugar industry because they are paid now on time. Their deliveries are done on time. There's a higher volume of sugar in terms of projections for the country. And it's generally a better arrangement. And again, there is efficiency. Unfortunately, in some of the parastatals, what has been happening previously, there are people who just sit there to wait for the salaries, and they're comfortable with that. Now, getting to Safaricom, there's also that opportunity because the president has been very clear that we need to have an infrastructure fund and sovereign wealth fund. So the infrastructure fund, instead of him taxing you to the extent of you bleeding because of taxes, we have this opportunity to have money specifically meant for the infrastructural development. And that's why the president has come up with a program of PPPs and then privatization of or selling some of the shares that we have in big organizations like Safaricom, so that the money is available to develop our infrastructure without hurting the taxpayer so much. You've seen the Rironi Mau Summit Road via Nakuru being dualed, so that there is more space and more activity in terms of business engagements, without necessarily getting into the pockets of the taxpayer. Those are very good policies. If we ever did this right from the independence time, we'll not be having these obsolete organizations. Remember when Uchumi used to fall, Uchumi used to collapse, and then it will be bailed out by the government. Then it collapses again, it gets bailed out by the government. If the previous governments had taken this approach, it would have been much safer for the country, that institutions are run more efficiently and at the same time money is available to circulate within the economy. That was the same case with the Kenyan Airways in the past. So if we are able to raise those funds and develop our infrastructure, automatically our economy will improve. The Chinese say that a step of 1,000 miles start with one li, or one step.
Okay.
And if we were ever sleeping in the past, we've woken up during the regime of President William Ruto, and we are now on the right path.
Okay. Sir, about this privatization agenda, is it something of an economic necessity from where you sit, from Safaricom sales, and because this agenda has been there for some time?
I need to be brutally honest. The word necessity, is it a necessity? Yes, it is a necessity for more of survival than economic recovery, because you need to know what are the innings and the outings of what's happening. The issue of, as my brother has put it, that the Gen Z protest was a wake-up call for the government to come up with the more creative ways and diversified thinking towards solving the problem. I doubt it, because now the creativity has come from veiling the taxing of the Kenyan people, bringing so many explanations around it. Now, let me now make it more clear. We're being told that the government has created an infrastructure fund where the sale of the assets, the money we get out of the sales goes to that infrastructure fund specifically for development in terms of infrastructure. The budget that is usually prepared by Parliament every year has infrastructure as an item. So us creating another fund for infrastructure is running two budgets. That alone is a contestable fact. And another thing, there is this philosophy that you will never get a good deal from bad people. The deal could be so good, but who is making the deal? If you're making a deal with a person with no history of making any good deal in their life, you can rest assured that the deal you are making is equally not good.
That's subjective.
Let me make it clear. The issue of selling Safaricom. Now, he's talked about Uchumi being bailed out. Safaricom is our blue chip company. Now, the government has decided to sell some shares. The question is not about whether to sell or not. The question has been about, are Kenyans getting value for their money? Because Safaricom is operating on the sweat of the people. We have made it what it is today. Therefore, sale of shares in Safaricom has to give value for the money to the people. And again, once the money we are selling comes in, where does it go? It should go to the exchequer account so that from there it can be budgeted into various programs.
For me, I think there'll be some more transparency under that arrangement as opposed to what has existed before. Like if we've been getting foreign debt and gets into paying salaries of the people. Right now, it's very specific that the money that comes out goes specifically to the infrastructure fund.
Now,
so be able to trace.
He's helped me a lot by mentioning the term debt in that statement. The biggest reason why we are selling these blue chip companies away, and Safaricom will be the beginning of this trend, is so that we can pay debt. What we are not being told is that the government is feeling expenditure pressure, that the tax income the government is generating is not enough for it to run its social programs. Therefore, because most of what we are generating as tax income is being gobbled up by debt, and our lenders are putting pressure on our government. So how does the president get a breather? Is by selling our blue chip companies, get some money, and pay debt.
Oh, of course.
Because all these projects, and he has talked about dueling of Maurirón, he has spoken as if it's already been done.
It's going to
I
happen.
can tell you, my friend, I will believe it can be done
Yeah.
once it is done. Because the money we are being told, it will be used to finance that project. It is actually being sought for so that debt can be paid.
And there are processes involved. The Rironi Mau Summit Road is being done under PPP. So it is not an issue of debts. And then previously, remember that whatever we are paying today was not incurred during the reign of President William Ruto. Whatever President Ruto is putting in place is to correct past mistakes so that the future generations do not suffer the way we are suffering as a result of previous mistakes.
People don't, just a minute. People don't correct mistakes that they are part of. When we talk about the issue of debt, actually it's not just about President William Ruto. We are beginning from 2013. That's where the rain started beating us. And you need to remember that in 2013, after the election, there was a 50-50 sharing of cabinet. And someone in that government appointed the CS for finance, which was the then Deputy President, William Ruto, who appointed CS Rotich. Then President Uhuru appointed the PS, Kamau Thuge. That is when we got the first Eurobond. They were both in government. They were both alive to what was happening. So he cannot claim to be clearing a mess that he is.
That's a bit controversial. If you talk about the appointment of the finance minister, Waziri Henry Rotich was a nominee of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But again, I'm not necessarily saying that one regime was bad, but every regime has its own weaknesses. What President Ruto is trying to do is to address some of those weaknesses that happened under previous regimes. Of course, the developmental trajectory was taken ahead by President Mwai Kibaki when he started engaging these foreign lenders and local lenders.
I think what you guys again have talked about is the building of the Rironi Mau and then the Mai Summit Road. And actually, what I understand, it's also that the government tend to introduce toll charges of around 8 shillings per kilometer. But again, I'm wondering, if we are to build these using the public resources, why should we again charge people on toll and again through taxes?
We are not building using public resources. It is a private-public partnership whereby, just like we did with the expressway, that we construct this road, and instead of paying any cent to those people, the kind of money that will be collected will be repaying back the money they'll have used to construct the road.
So there's no public resources.
So there's no public resources. Actually, it's a strategy of cautioning the taxpayer. That's the same arrangement the president has made under the Thika, the extension of the expressway from Museum Hill to Thika, which is a very good developmental plan. Because if we ever did that from the taxpayers' money, then we'll really strain citizens.
I like how he's sugarcoating things. Making them look juicy when they are bitter. when you say that the taxpayers' money will not be used, I start wondering, because we have committed that NSSF money will finance 45% of the project. I wonder how NSSF gets money if it's not taxpayers' money. That's money saved by workers so that it can be used when in their post-retirement time. And I have no problem with that money being committed to build that project. I have a problem with even after using the public money to generate this project, we will still come back for the people to pay using the same project. And again, it has in the last financial year, this same expressway made losses. So why are we committing the money saved by the Kenyan people into a venture that has past history of not being economically viable? So our people, the issue here is that you use public money to build a project, then come back to the people to pay using the same project. The arrangement under which the expressway was built is totally different. We didn't commit.
How is it different? How is it the arrangement of the expressway and this particular project of the Rironi-Mau Summit Road? How is it different?
The Mau-Rironi Road, we are committing money saved by the Kenyan people, which was not the case under expressway. It was purely private-public partnership, where a private investor builds a road, and the people are charged to use it. Here, the public money is being used to partially finance the project.
The argument is that this is a very big project, and therefore, if you are to subject all the responsibilities at once to the taxpayer, it will be too strenuous for us. And that's why we have that kind of arrangement, so that there's a percentage doing this portion and then a percentage doing the other portion. Like it is a practice in so many other developed countries. You know, this is a new practice that was introduced in less than 20 years in this country. But other countries have practiced this. If you go to China, you will see you get to a point, you pay for the road. Pay for the road. It's usually about recovering the monies used in constructing that road. For us, I think we are advancing. And I think it's a clear pathway towards being a first world country. We are trying to fast track the process. If we just stayed, it will look like those people who are in the Bible, they were given talents, and then somebody say that my boss is so rigid, and if I make use of this money, then he'll be so annoyed.
Let me ask you, when you talk about public resources and so on, and this actually leads us even to the next conversation about the by-elections. In particular, let's talk about the resources before we look at even the politics within. Because so they say that the government spent a lot of resources to win the by-elections. You understood a lot was actually at stake.
Everybody used money, Eugene.
Yes.
If you talk about the by-elections, everybody used money, and even those so-called election malpractices that go contrary to the Election Offences Act of 2016 were so rampant. Even these guys who are complaining, they're only complaining because they lost the election. It's not that they never use the money. If you go to the people of Mbeere North...
It's okay, I'm asking.
It's all those things.
The government used public resources.
It is not anywhere documented that way. You know, you cannot turn propaganda in reality. Those are things that are being spread by the one-term bandwagon led by the impeached Gachagua. It is not backed by any iota of evidence. And you know, anything that is not backed by evidence is absolute hearsay.
See, he said his profession is in architecture.
That was my first degree. I'm a polymath.
Have you done, because I think he should have done law somewhere.
I'm studying law right now.
That's now I get it, why you're answering questions like that. It's lawyers who like using statements like evidence when they know it's...
But that's the practical...
You see, when you ask for evidence...
Joachim, that's the practical aspect of life. That something that is not backed by evidence does not exist. It is falsehood. It's propaganda. And that's what the one-term bandwagon is very good at. If you look at what Gachagua has been trying to say all through and through, is that any election that does not favor him looks like it's rigged. Anywhere that he won, including the small MCA position they got in Kisa East, is supposed to be transparent. But we all know what they did on their own side.
So my friend is contradicted. He knows what they did in Kisa East with no evidence. But he wants evidence from the opposition by saying that something was done in Mbeere and Malava.
For what they did in Kisa
I am not
East,
here to even contest. What I want to say that
So
governments
do you think money
all
was
over,
spent?
money was spent
Public money.
for this reason.
Yes.
There was need for government to win these seats for bragging rights. It's good for optics to generate that perception that we still are in charge. We can still win. You've seen that it was not about any other thing. It was for bragging rights. So it was actually very important for the government to win. That's why they had to dispatch the best they had. They dispatched the deputy president in Mbeere North. They dispatched Farouk and his cohorts in Malava and every other place so that they can do anything under the sun to secure the win for them, including using money.
Let me ask you, apart from the money,
Yes.
you know, these by-elections were actually greatly contested. And I'm just wondering, what does these by-elections truly signal going to 2027? Do they really mean anything politically?
I've just said about optics and perception.
Yes.
The president needed to go into the next general election with a perception that he can still win. That's what he wanted to achieve. And it was important for him to create that perception. That's why...
And it was confirmed that through that he'll win.
He's confirmed
Or
that
was
through...
that the case?
Let me hear
He's
from another.
confirmed that through that, which means money being used.
I'm not talking about money, Jack.
So, which we say here, even you brought the issue of by-elections.
Yes.
When we have a very big problem, because all these elections, both by-elections and the general elections.
So let me ask you simply, does this by-elections mean anything
Yes,
in
they
2027?
mean everything towards the general election. Let
What
me
does it
tell you
mean?
what
Yes.
it means.
Yes.
One,
Yeah.
this by-election has demystified that sloganeering will not be a solution to the problem of the Kenyan people, both one-term and two-term.
Hold it there. Just hold your thoughts over there. Let me ask you, what does this mean towards 2027, the by-election specifically?
I would want to quote
Does
the-
it mean that then the president will be able to get it easy, because we got the government side, that is ODM and UDA, the broad-based government actually, got the members of parliamentary seats.
For me, I think Malava and Mbeere North were very critical in this election. And going by the words of some of the individuals within the United Opposition,
Yes.
it actually confirms that for Mount Kenya in particular, the president still has foothold there. Remember, former deputy president, Gachagua, declared that if he ever lost Mbeere North, he was going to be extremely embarrassed. Not because he has declared himself, he's a self-styled kingpin of Mount Kenya. He self-declared. But now that by-election proved that he actually is not what he purports or what he claims to be. Remember, by the time we were having those Gen Z protests in 2024,
Yes.
someone was so sure that President Ruto will not even step somewhere near Githurai. Right now, he has won a by-election in Mount Kenya. Now, the next thing, yesterday he was in Gatundu and was welcomed so well. If it's about talking of the numbers,
Yes.
we look at Mbeere North as a pointer
Yes.
that whatever Gachagua used to claim that the president had lost total control of the mountain is totally the opposite.
So these by-elections meant a lot towards 2027.
It was judgment night for
Yes.
somebody like Gachagua.
Yes.
Gachagua's claim to kingship of Mount Kenya. And interestingly, I've seen the politics between Mount Kenya East
We will talk
Mount
about
Kenya
it.
West.
We will talk about the politics of Mount
Maybe
Kenya
I
East.
go to Malava first before my friend Joachim
Yes.
gets his time. Malava, on the other hand, in my opinion,
Yeah.
was based on local politics.
Yes.
The contest between people who want to be more superior than others. Remember, there was a by-election of member of parliament. That's some individuals who went there to vie for kingpinship. There was no election for kingpin. There was a by-election for member of parliament. And to me, such characters are the ones who might have interfered with the Seth Panyako's almost victory. Because if you look at 2022, Seth Panyako got 20,000 votes against Malulu Njendi's 22,000 votes. Okay? In this election, Seth Panyako got 20,000 votes against Ndakwa's 22 or 23,000 votes, which means there's no vote that is tangible that was added to Panyako because of this. And in the last election, Panyako was running on UDA, which means that both of Panyako's votes and Ndakwa's votes, if we go to the presidential level, they belong to President William Ruto.
Wow. Interesting.
Let me say this.
Yes.
The by-election, it was a referendum to change the narrative around the election and to set the question of the election. Because right now we are split into two camps that are very meaningless, in my own opinion. The one term and the two term. We have made this election about the bigwigs, which shouldn't be. This election should be about the people. Even as we sing one term, which I am a member of, we all agree in opposition that one term should be a reality, but there should be something further after saying one term. That we want one term so that we can do ABCD. We want one term so that we can, this is how we are coming to deal with infrastructure. This is how we are coming to deal with the issue of economic depress. The two-term brigade, which my brother comes from, should come out and say, we need two terms so that we can do ABCD. This is how we are going to live through two term as the people of Kenya. The mistake we in the opposition have done, which we have to re-strategize, is to make election about individuals, the bigwigs, to even start talking about who gets what after election. It eliminated the people. And therefore the people opted to go for a camp that came with sweets and sukuma wiki in the market. Unfortunately, my brother here represents that camp. I want to tell you that now in the next year, beginning January, this movie that has been trailing is going to get a big plot twist. And the people who have been thought to be oppositions will be trying to catch up with the real opposition.
Okay.
The opposition that is coming to talk about issues and not individuals. The opposition that is coming to bring money back to the pockets of the people.
Okay.
I don't know at what point Joachim decided that I just believe in the best interest of the country. And I think so far, if you look at President Ruto, he's the best that we have right now of all the categories of leaders that are presenting themselves in terms of wanting to be leaders of this country. We've not seen anyone who has come up, at least where I agree with him, there's no one who has so far come up with a tangible roadmap towards the progress of the country better than President William Ruto. And as things stand today, we must also be realistic that you must have capacity to advance those ideologies, have the manifesto, and also have capacity to campaign and win. So far, the only person who has that kind of capacity is President William Ruto, and he has managed to reach all parts of the country. Unlike some of the fellows that even Joachim has dismissed, who are just sloganeering, they are not specific on what is supposed to be done in this country.
You see,
and they are pushing the ethnic agenda as opposed to pushing the interests of the country.
My friend here, you see, I didn't say that so that I give him an opposition to praise a regime that has failed.
Yes.
You see, when you say that President William Ruto is the best, you are making us look so bad. And the country will look so bad that the best we can get is just William.
No, he has the right skills.
You know, the right skills in swindling what should be for the people. The right skills to make everyone his customer. The right skills.
That's just a partisan opinion.
You see, of my party, the right skills to make people think that every other person who thinks that he's not right to lead is an average thinker. he has those right skills. But the right skills to bring education, even to the most underprivileged person, that skill he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the skill to make sure that healthcare works for everyone. The skill to make sure that you feel proud of being part of this country. Right now, nearly 80% of medical students, I don't know if there is any word like that, students of medicine, are graduating from school with a dream of moving out of the country. Why? Because we have failed as a government to create opportunities for those people. And we are experiencing brain drain. One thing that President Ruto has to do, but unfortunately he will not, because he will be biting his own tail, is to deal with the issue of debt.
Let me just
It
ask
is
you
very
something.
wrong to lay all the blame of the 60 years of problems to President William Ruto, who has just been in power for the last 3 years and is trying to correct all those mistakes. There was a time I had a conversation with the former minister, Raphael Tuju, and told me that there was a time he was a journalist in 1985 and interviewed Minister for Planning, then the late Honorable Robert Ouko, who told him that the biggest problem about Kenya is the youth bulge, that the population that we are having will be not easy to manage when it comes to unemployment. So this is a problem that has been there for a number of years. But unfortunately, maybe the previous regimes have not handled it in the best manner possible. The way the president is now trying to reorganize. Look at
Let me ask you, do you think the opposition, do you really think that they have an agenda? When you say that it is only the president who has the best interest of Kenyans at heart, and you look at the opposition, do you really believe they have an agenda for the country?
You see, the first mistake within the opposition is that they do not have a common ideology. There are people whom I consider brilliant in that team, and then there are people whom I think are pedestrian, with zero leadership credentials. People who do not even understand what national leadership is all about. You've heard the sentiments that caused Gachagua to be impeached, including fighting against national inclusivity as defined under Article 10 of the Constitution. You've seen him moving with this shares narrative. And again, recently, even after being impeached, he's repeating the same things that caused him to be impeached by declaring that Nairobi belongs to one community, which is not true. So these other people, I do not think if somebody like Alonzo believes in that kind of ideology. I don't think if Eugene also believes in that kind of ideology. So they are not homogeneous in terms of the direction they want to take. So they cannot advance anything that is in the interest of the country. They have no capacity to do that. Because it's like the Tower of Babel.
It's
They are
interesting
not speaking the same language.
that my brother thinks about the opposition. Just before you come in.
Yes, and actually it's still on the same thing, because even the president himself, and so many people, they really ask what is the agenda of the United Opposition.
And I want to give you the agenda. Not the United Opposition's agenda, but the agenda of the opposition. The agenda of my party, Safina. We have an agenda called the Feast Agenda. My brother here is not privy to what agenda talks about.
But is it the agenda of the opposition as a
It's
as a
the
unit?
agenda of the party, Safina, which is a party in the opposition. We are not supporting government, which makes us an opposition party. So anyone who is casting a blanket aspersion to whole opposition is wrong. Now, we are talking about the Feast Agenda.
Before you talk about the Feast Agenda, let me ask you, does Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and the sect of opposition leader called the United Opposition, do they really have an agenda?
Let me start, let me give it some context.
Yes.
Let me give it some context. Let me start from where my brother has said that we can't blame one president for the ills that have been perpetrated for the last 60 years. And I want to remember how President Ruto used to campaign. It's not that it's our wish to put all this blame on him, but he cut the image of a person who have understood the Kenyan problem.
And that's why he's solving it.
You see, he talked like this person understands. And there were questions he asked that actually caught my attention, despite the fact that I was in opposition in Azimio. He said, for example, how comes that fuel in Uganda is cheaper than fuel in Kenya, and yet fuel in Uganda passes through Kenya? I said, wait a minute. That should be a point there. So, and another question he asked, how much money does KICC make? Where does the money go? And I also said the deputy president has a point. Now, when he got into power, the person with the burden to deal with the messes he mentioned while he was campaigning, it's him. Now we're asking him the same questions. Why is fuel in Uganda cheaper than here? He's now the president. Where is the money from KICC going? How comes that even if we collect 2.5 trillion in terms of tax, we end up with nothing in terms of services? So it's not that we just woke up one day and decided to blame the president for all the problems Kenyans are having. He said that he can solve all those problems, which clearly he hasn't. The question about whether the opposition has an agenda, I do not know what the United Opposition agenda is, because I'm not a member of the United Opposition. I'm a member of Safina Party. And our party leader is a contender in this race. Therefore, I am only going to speak about the agenda of my party. My party has an agenda called the Feast Agenda. Because in our diagnosis of the Kenyan problem, we have come up with a problem that is called public debt, which is the biggest malady in the house. It is gobbling up more than 60% of what we are producing as the country. So for us to get money to run these programs without coming up with shady deals called PPPs is to stop paying debt until an audit is done. And we establish that the debt we are paying is actually legitimate, it went to the right projects, it was approved by Parliament. Any debt that falls out of that stipulation will not be paid. 2, by not paying odious debt, there is a lot of money that is going to be saved by government. It will be enough to provide free primary and secondary education. 3, the money will be enough to provide free health care. You will not need SHA and SHIF. You just show up at the hospital with your ID, you get treatment. 4, as I finish, it's the Feast Agenda. Feast means 5 fingers. I've only mentioned the 3. Now, can you be patient and wait for 2? The 4th one is no borrowing domestically. 60% of our public debt is domestic, which is taking away credit from the informal sector. We only leave it and release it to the people. Because once government starts borrowing from our banks, the banks will not be willing to lend to me and you. The interest rate will go up, which denies you an opportunity to get even a loan to do business. And then the last one is a reduction of VAT from 16% to 5%.
Interesting. Let me come to you, sir, just a bit on this, because he's talked about agendas, which are quite good. Some of them actually the president had initially talked about when he was assuming presidency, when he was campaigning. But my question is, whenever we talk about the presidency, or rather the politics as it is, one key thing that has happened in the Kenyan political space is political realignments, and particularly of the kingships, of the kingpins, if I can say, where the Luos, they have always rallied behind Aluo, who is Raila Odinga, and the coast and the western have always had Raila, maybe ODM, let me say so. We've had the Kikuyus who have also aligned themselves differently and so on. And the merger of these political kingpins would actually tell how they will vote and actually how things will align. Do you think that, because he's talked about an agenda, political, economic agenda to improve the life of the Kenyan people, which is good, but do you really believe that the Kenyan, the hoi polloi, the common person, would leave and shift from the kingpin era of this is my leader, I have to follow him, and then follow the agenda he's talking about? And then the question would be also that, does this in any chance informs whether the president becomes a one-term or a two-term?
first, before I get to that, Eugene,
Yes.
you know, I was in Azimio,
Yes.
and we all had our manifesto, and then UDA had their own manifesto. As far as I'm concerned, the president set the pace of implementing his manifesto, and it started with the subsidizing production as opposed to consumption. And as we said, problems that were created many years cannot be solved in overnight.
Okay.
Like you see, there are certain arid and semi-arid areas in this country
Yes.
that experience floods, heavy flooding, whenever it rains, like
Yes.
the Tana River side. You know. Then when drought comes, they are still the same victims of the same problems. Now, to solve that in a sustainable manner is to construct dams. And that's part of the infrastructure advancement program.
Okay.
And it will be done progressively to achieve that. That's just an example.
Okay.
Now, getting back to your point, I think President Ruto has redefined the politics of this country. That unlike people who have been claiming, holding their communities hostage and saying that they are carrying community votes on their backs, that they're going to auction to someone, President Ruto came up with a system of engaging voters directly, and that's very encouraging.
Yes.
And I think that's how he defeated us in Azimio, because Azimio was dealing with the kingpinship arrangement, while he was going directly to the people. And I think going forward, that's what is going to happen.
Okay.
Like before the Right Honorable Raila Odinga passed on, President Ruto had a personal relationship with the Raila and ODM to build the broad-based government. But at the same time, he had interacted with the ordinary voters from the regions that were considered Raila Odinga's strongholds. Therefore, I think apart from incorporating and involving senior leaders in his government at different levels, I am very sure the kind of platform that has been created right now is one that is supposed to kill tribalism and be issue-based.
Okay.
That when he goes to Mount Kenya, he'll be talking about the issues, like now they are dueling Kiambu Road.
Yeah.
If he goes to the coast, he'll be doing the same thing, talking about development. You've seen a lot of developmental projects in Nyanza, Western, Rift Valley, all over the country, showing that these are president of everybody. And people going to the ballot eventually will be voting on the basis of those issues, on how he has managed to handle his first term, and that's how they reward him with the second term.
Okay.
And possibly in 2032, have someone elected to succeed him who has the qualities and who has the agenda of continuity in terms of developmental progress of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, quite interesting. Let me come to you also. Whether, just a simple question, do you really believe that Kenyans will really buy into the idea of Safina with the way we have the kingpins and the whatever? If you guys do not, if Safina party do not really get the so-called senior leaders within those communities? Honestly.
What your question is really saying
Yes.
is that you want to actually prove that we have moved past tribal chieftains in politics. And I want to tell you that the thing that made possible the Gen Z protest in 2024 was the breaking the barriers of those chieftains. And that, going forward, is a reality in our politics. Some people are stuck and are clinging on the old kind of organization and politics. But times have changed. Everyone in this country is asking the agenda. Even those with no agenda are asking, what is agenda? Because it is time for issue-based politics.
Now that we've talked about the agenda of the opposition, because the opposition is quite large and wide, and there's different facets of the opposition. My question is, and of course we have so many contenders who may wish to become the president of Kenya. But as you also know, there is the 50+1 for you to become the president of Kenya. It means that the opposition, it will be very important for them to work together as a people, for them, if they have to beat President William Ruto. Well, my question is it going to be possible for them to work together into 2027 to beat President William Ruto? If you guys, because I know you're a one-term person, if they have to beat President William Ruto, how are they going to work together? because number one, they have different political ideologies and agendas. That is one. And two, all of them are ambitious. Some are even dividing Nairobi and saying Nairobi is ours, it's for DCP, this is for these people, and so on. And then what metrics are they going to use to determine who becomes the flag bearer?
I am not in any way downplaying unity.
Yes.
That in any war, unity is very important. But before unity, there should be a reason why you are uniting. That we are uniting, yes, on this issue. That our unity is informed by how we are going to deal with the issues on the table. It is human in everyone to have their own ambitions. Because if I was to be asked, Joachim, do you want to be president? I will say yes. Because it feels good to walk in a motorcade with 6 motorbikes in front of you. It feels good. But the issue is, who has the capability to diagnose the problem and actually provide a solution to that same problem? In this organization of the opposition,
yes,
the key thing that is going to be on the table first
yes,
is the agenda,
yes,
which we in Safina Party
yes,
have provided.
yes,
And we are not curtailing anyone from providing theirs.
yes,
We are saying we have an agenda on the table.
yes,
It's called the Fifth Agenda.
yes.
If any member of the opposition feels like they have a better one, let them bring it on the table. We
Yes.
discuss.
Yes,
Because sending William Ruto home in 2027
yes,
will be one step forward into
Yes.
taking the country back on track.
okay,
He's taking this country very far in a wrong direction.
okay. Well, thank you. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because of time, I don't know whether you have a comment.
It's just a demonstration that there's no capacity, there's no opportunity for opposition to field one presidential candidate.
Oh.
I just heard, I think there's a likelihood that another one is emerging. I was aware that there's Matiang'i, there's Kalonzo. I even heard Eugene mention that he wants to run for president. But now this
I
one,
mentioned a plot twist.
But this one, he has mentioned
Yes.
is someone I had not heard of in terms of interest.
Okay.
So that means that it's becoming more complex. More candidates are coming up.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Even as near the end of this conversation, Mount Kenya has been a critical constituent in the elections of this country to determine who becomes the president. We're witnessing a time where they seemingly are not with the president, as the reality is. Most of them, it seems like they're not with the president. But of course, and probably now we're having a conversation of a possible split between Mount Kenya East and the Mount Kenya West. Maybe you can talk about the split.
First of all,
yes,
Eugene, first of all, we are not yet in 2027. The so-called abandonment of Mount Kenya or disengaging from President William Ruto was a creation of Rigathi Gachagua, who was individually afflicted as an individual through the impeachment. If you look at the positions that Mount Kenya held, which are the majority than any other person, any other category of people in government, look at the number of CSs, number of PSs, it's still intact. And the people who are occupying those positions right now are even more experienced than Gachagua, who planted that seed of discord. Look at people like Mutahi Kagwe, they have more political experience. You look at Lee Kinyanji, was a governor. You look at Kabogo, he was a governor. Then you look at someone like Kindiki. He has greater political experience than the one-term member of parliament that was Gachagua, that was given the position of deputy president by accident. So I don't think if by the time we get to 2027, we'll be having this kind of talk. Because initially they threatened that the president was never going to step in Mount Kenya. But now, yesterday was in Gatundu. The other day, he beat Gachagua's candidate hands down without stepping on the ground. Even after Gachagua daring him that come and face me here in Mbeere North and see. The president never stepped there. Kindiki alone dealt with the Gachagua and finished the Mbeere North business. So there's an interesting debate about Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West that is very good at the national level. That every time there's a privilege on the side of Mount Kenya West, especially amongst the Kikuyus, they'll want to say, this is Mount Kenya and all of us are together. When they had Jomo Kenyatta, the Mount Kenya East people, the Merus, Embus, and Mbeeres, and Chukas, supported them, supported the Kikuyus. When they had Mwai Kibaki, they voted together. In fact, the greatest stronghold for Mwai Kibaki was the Imenti side, the Meru side, where Muraria came from. Muraria was Kibaki's deputy in the Democratic Party. Then when it gets to Uhuru Kenyatta, when it goes to Uhuru Kenyatta, they still supported them. But now they are saying, now that Kindiki is the kingpin of Mount Kenya, being the senior most person in government right now, they want to act like it's not Mount Kenya enough. And therefore, I saw Cabinet Secretary Ruku declaring yesterday that for them, they are going to pursue their own agenda as Mount Kenya East. And if the Mount Kenya West is not going to move together with them, they are okay. They are going to rally behind Deputy President Kindiki under President William Ruto. And that's quite interesting because it will obviously tilt highly the scale of 2027 to give President Ruto more votes to win with more than what he won with in 2022.
I like what he's saying. And he's saying it with passion and hidden happiness, that there is actually a split in the mountain.
And even if,
you see, it's the aspiration of his party leader and the president, Dr. William Ruto, that the mountain splits.
That's not the point.
No. The point is, how do you win? By dividing. This is how he is dividing. One, use Ruku and the rest to say that we in Embumbe area and Tharaka are not part of the whole Mount Kenya. Then take advantage of the tribal rhetoric made by Gachagua to seclude Kikuyus. It's a perfect plan. How do you achieve it? That's why I am always against Gachagua speaking as if all Kikuyus live in Mount Kenya alone.
We agree on that.
Now, they are using those tribal rhetorics of Gachagua to isolate Kikuyus. And because Ruku is in the other side, they tell him, go and say this side is on its own, driving the wedge in the mountain so that you get some chunks of votes. Another division plan. I don't know if President Uhuru Kenyatta cares whether Ruto loses or wins. I don't know. Some people are thinking he can support a candidate who will send William Ruto home. That will be wishful thinking because he has no problem with President Ruto.
Absolutely.
For right now. So if we are saying that it's President Ruto's party, President Uhuru Kenyatta's party, which is Jubilee, fronting Matiang'i, which means we are even further dividing what? The mountain. That the Mount Kenya side, which will listen to what Rukus are saying, will vote for William. The Mount Kenya side, which will listen to Gashagua's side, will vote for who they want. And the other side, which will now listen to Uhuru, will vote for Matiang'i. It's a perfect division plan. Because that's the only plan President Ruto has. The campaign, the crusade.
Are you downplaying the broad-based arrangement?
There is nothing like broad-based.
It is there because ODM is now in partnership with UDA.
The issue of ODM, I don't think... before you come in...
Let me ask you then a question on ODM as we come to the conclusion of this conversation, probably. Because now Raila is no more.
Yes.
And for the longest time, ODM depended greatly on Raila Odinga, as most people will say, because he was indeed a great political figure in the country. Right now, the question is there any person who can fill Raila's shoes to the extent of uniting Western and have votes, maybe, for example, for ODM party in Coast, in Nyanza, and even other parts of North and so on. So that is the question still. And probably then it begs the question about the future of ODM.
You see, ODM,
yes,
which is a party I loved so much. And the ODM is a party I loved because of one person, Raila Amolo Odinga. As young as I was very young in 2013.
How young?
Very young.
How old?
Old enough to be on this podcast. But
Mzagiro.
in 2013, I was very young, but I could admire Raila Odinga. In 2017, I was old enough to get myself engaged in campaigns, and I really wanted Raila to win. In 2022 was the heartbreak of my life. I even took leave from work. I went and nursed my injuries in the house, and I asked God, what is that one thing that Raila has done to you that you can't even give him one chance? And that was the time I cried because of politics. So my enthusiasm and love for ODM was centered around one person, because I believed in what he was saying. He cut the image of a person who understood the problem and knew how to solve it. Now, I had a problem with Raila when he shook the hand of William Ruto. And I told the people that this handshake is very unique. It is not like the other handshakes. Because even look at the standing posture. Raila Odinga had always made a handshake standing on the right-hand side. Go and look at all those photos. But the handshake with Ruto, Raila Odinga stood on the left. This world is spiritual, ndugu yangu. And I struggled to love, to accept, but I failed.
So how does it mean standing on the left, Raila Odinga standing on the left while doing the handshake with Ruto?
It means that the handshake is unique in its own way. Mm-hmm. And if you've always been standing in a position where you win, you will lose when you stop standing in that position. And with me, when I saw that picture, Raila standing on the left and Ruto on the right, something went terribly wrong.
So he lost?
So now, he lost because he didn't come out of the handshake alive. Now, the issue of ODM. I am saying this, and it's very bitter for people to accept, but ODM will just remain in our hearts. You know, ODM is a juicy cake, which was centered around one individual, Raila Odinga. He's the only person who could tell all those warring people around him, when they draw out their daggers to stab each other, he could tell them, hey, not here, not now. Please, let's have peace. And they could listen. Right now, everyone has his blade ready to cut that slice called ODM. And I want to submit it here that I have been here long enough to know how parties die. They stop looking like national parties. They are relegated to regions. They go to tribes. Then they die in the clans, just like for Kenya. When Jaramogi died, it stopped being a national party. It went to Western. It stopped being a Western party. It is now a Bukusu briefcase party. And that is the problem. And with the time, we will just be with ODM in our hearts, but physically it will be dead. I was saying something.
So what next for ODM?
There is no next when you are dead. And in this country, I think it's about time we look at what a party stands for, not what the party is. Because I am struggling to even identify what ODM stands for. It's no longer the party I used to know. It's not a party. It's a party that was born and raised in the streets. It has now graduated and it wants to stay in the boardrooms. Good luck to them. For us out here, we are saying the agenda is of the Kenyan people, and therefore the people must think about themselves, be as selfish as politicians are. Do not sell your vote because of 500 shillings. Vote for the person who has the capacity to lead and make Kenya a big country, make you proud of being a Kenyan.
And who is that person?
Jimmy Wanjigi.
My take is that no one at this point has capacity to fill Raila Odinga's shoes. But with the time, leaders will emerge. There's always gradual growth. In my opinion, there are two aspects of succession for Raila Odinga, at the national level and then in Luo Nyanza. At the national level, I've seen so many people who have emerged as leaders within the ODM ranks, a good number of the most influential people in ODM are now siding with the President William Ruto, which means that any position that they have or the regions from where they come or control will automatically go in the hands of President William Ruto in 2027. About Luo Nyanza, I've been watching keenly this gentleman called Dr. Raymond Omolo. In terms of demeanor, in terms of respect and conduct, and the way he does his stuff, is very well trusted by President William Ruto, and has done a lot of stuff that is tangible on the ground, helping widows. He has a foundation, and he has a name recognition beyond Luo Nyanza. So with the time, is one that is most likely to emerge as what others may refer to as a kingpin. Not just a kingpin for Nyanza, but a possible presidential contender in future.
Who's that again?
Dr. Raymond Omolo.
Dr. Raymond Omolo.
That's my take.
Okay, quite interesting. And now that you've talked about kingship, Director, if you allow me, there's so many contenders. Probably, if you can just mention something about them. We have Edwin Sifuna, who wants to inherit Raila Odinga. We have Babu Owino. And you can consistently see that there have even been some bloggers, for specifically Babu Owino, there have been bloggers who actually support him, but they talk so bad about some Luo leaders. And Babu Owino would want to inherit Raila as a Luo kingpin, because we all have to agree that to some great extent, if you look at Luo, and you'll agree with me, it is following, and these are people who have always followed people. They've always followed like a single leader. And actually it happens in different areas, and it is not bad sometimes to have a leader who could be able to guide you. And I'm just wondering whether these people can be able to fill these shoes. Talk about Joho, talk about Mbadi, actually, Gladys Wanga. I know you can give a short description about it, and then you can close.
You see, Babu Owino,
Yes.
I said it elsewhere that if he tries to be Baba, he will fail terribly.
What do you mean?
Let him remain the Babu. You know, there is a very big difference. The only person I can compare with Raila is Babu. But there is a very big difference. Raila had some lines that he didn't cross. He had limits. Babu does not. Babu, all his lines are drawn in the sand, and therefore they can be erased any time. So tell me, if Babu was Baba in 2017, rigged out of election, he has the power to cut the country half, secession. Did you see that?
Yes.
Now imagine that is Babu Owino. Where would we be today? Imagine you are Babu. Luos are telling you, give us guns. We finish these people. Babu will provide them. These are the people called Wanga, Mbadi. Who else? Who else looks like they
Raymond,
want to be?
he talks about Raymond.
Raymond can only, to me, Raymond is not an abrasive politician. In Western Kenya, especially Nyanza, you have to be very abrasive. Raila was abrasive. That's why he rose to the ranks he rose. He used to disrupt meetings, even meetings that are of people that he should respect. Raymond Omolo behaves like a Bukusu, but he's Luo.
You have no idea about Bukusus.
Yeah?
Maybe you don't know the background of Bukusus.
no.
You know, there was a time when we were resisting Moi.
Yes.
When we were resisting Moi, actually, it was Bukusus and Luos who were most aggressive at that time.
Okay.
So don't.
I am not saying.
Who behaves like a Bukusu?
Raymond, I'm not saying that Bukusus are not aggressive.
Yes.
Is that
But they have to be really rattled.
Okay.
Because the Bukusus are mostly.
Okay, as we come to the conclusion,
Yes.
on Nairobi gubernatorial position,
Yes.
DCP has said, Nairobi tumeachiwa. There is Babu Owino there in ODM. There is these other figures who are interested. Now we have Moses Kuria.
Moses Kuria.
And so on. Your position on the Nairobi gubernatorial position and who is likely to win?
Right now, I have been thinking of that, and I have not made my decision. Yes, on that issue of Governor of Nairobi, I'll make my decision.
Okay. I've been in Nairobi politics for some time, but let me get back to what you talked about in terms of ODM leadership. When Raila became what he became, it was about his personal effort. And effort is through strategy. We have different strategies. And the reason that's why I referred it to Dr. Raymond Omolo is because I've seen his strategies point towards someone who is working on a structure that will eventually lead somewhere. And he has that advantage of the confidence that the President William Ruto has in him in terms of working and performing. The future of this country is not about hooliganism. It's about service delivery. And the future generations will be voting on the basis of service delivery. It will not be based on how many stones you are throwing or how many people you are beating up in terms of goonship. Getting to Nairobi, I've been in Nairobi politics and I understand a bit of it. I would like to say that it's too early for anyone to make a declaration that the election is going to go this direction or that direction, because Nairobi usually votes in two groups, and those groups have not yet defined themselves properly, so that you decide on who is the candidate here, who is the candidate there. By the time we get to that point is when we'll decide or know who exactly is the front runner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Babu, to inherit Raila Odinga, is it something that is viable? Something?
It is something to watch. Wait and see.
Okay.
Yes.
Quite interesting. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It has been indeed a great conversation, conversing with you, Joachim Simiyu, the Secretary General of Safina Pesa. And of course, I know that now tutapata pesa. Thank you so much. And of course, Fwamba NC Fwamba, man of many other titles, but of course, coming as a politics and governance analyst also on this conversation. Thank you guys for your time, and asanteni sana. And of course, we are glad that you had time to join us on this conversation. My name is Eugene Kwach. This is the Power Table, where we have conversations that is meant to enlighten you. We chew them into molasses that you can be able to swallow, that you can be able to understand. And of course, on this Power Table, we bring men and women of influence, power, to talk about issues of politics, business, economy, and things that matter to your heart. Well, it has been me, Eugene Kwach. Until next time, this is the Power Table.